May 20th, after the celebration of the Holy Mass on Pentecost Sunday and the recitation of Regina Caeli, His Holiness Pope Francis, addressing the faithful gathered at St. Peter's Square from all over the world, announced that he is creating 14 new cardinals, and they are selected from 5 continents. And the countries included were Iraq, Portugal, Japan, Peru, Madagascar, and Pakistan. As the news broke, we were quick enough to send this news everywhere through our social media as well as with our print and electronic media. And quickly this news became viral. From that time onwards, Pakistan is now the focus of the whole world. You are with Good News TV, and we are fortunate to have this time to interview His Excellency Cardinal-elect Joseph Coutts, Archbishop of Karachi. Let us now talk to him. Your Excellency, thank you very much for giving us this time for this exclusive interview for our audience and viewers to get better understanding of yourself as a person, as the priest of the Catholic Church, as a prelate who has served almost half of the country as a bishop, and also now as Cardinal-elect. Your Eminence, tell us, did you expect this nomination?
No, not at all. It was a very big surprise. Initially, I couldn't believe it because I don't know how this works. Normally when we're appointed bishops, we are informed privately beforehand, and we are able to accept and even refuse, I'm told. No, but this came like a bolt from the blue. It was totally unexpected, and initially I was wondering whether it was true, because I heard it from friends who phoned in, and sometimes they pick up rumors and spread them. So it was unexpected, yes.
All right. And it's a great honor for the Church as whole and Pakistan in particular to see that you are elevated to the rank of the Cardinal. Why is it important that you are elected as a Cardinal for the local church? Why is it important? And for Pakistan?
I think the basic thing is to understand this idea of Catholic. Catholic means universal. It's a universal church. And what we are seeing now is, in the recent years, particularly with Pope Francis, not only him, earlier too, but all the more since Pope Francis has taken this forward, where he wants also the governance of the universal church to be universal. And by the fact that he is giving importance and selecting cardinals from all those small churches that probably on the international level were not so much on the radar of the media and the other faithful as well, and making it a point to select from all the continents. You'll recall that his closest advisors, the 9 cardinals, are also from all the different continents. And he has done it last year, and he's done it again. Earlier was places like Myanmar, which is a suffering church. I think it's also this, bringing to light these small churches, many of which have problems and are suffering in different ways. Pakistan too is a church in the last decade or so where we are facing, some would use the word persecution, but we are certainly facing a lot of difficulties, and the whole atmosphere in which we are living in this Islamic state is becoming more and more difficult for non-Muslims. So I think Pope Francis is well aware of all these things, And he wants to bring that out because Pakistan already has diplomatic relations with the Vatican since many years, since more than half a century. And knowing that too, I think the Pope wants to build on that by choosing a cardinal. So the choice is not on the basis of any personal great ability or talent of mine. It's the other aspect is more important. Whether it is I who have been chosen, probably because I'm the senior most bishop now. I discovered that only when I gave it a thought. I said, oh my gosh, for 23 years I was the junior most bishop, and now I've become the senior most bishop. So I guess that is it. And the name of Pakistan too in the Committee of Nations on the international level comes to the fore, which I think overall image that has been created of Pakistan in the media is a country of terrorists. Well, no doubt there is a lot of terrorism, but it's not Pakistan alone to blame. It's the big powers who have interfered because of the war in Afghanistan, which etc. There's so much can be said in that line. As a result of which we are suffering from terrorism, and not only Christians. It is also the moderate Muslims who are facing a lot of difficulties with the kind of terrorism that is now in Pakistan, things like suicide bombing, which we are unheard of. This is a new phenomenon that we have to face in the last decade or so.
You'll be the second cardinal for Pakistan. What do you see as your responsibility or your role as the cardinal?
Now, my role would be the same as for the other cardinals. But I was saying earlier, this idea of a universal church, now also being governed not only by the Pope alone, but the cardinals being his close advisors, and then the cardinals also heading the various, what we use the word dicasteries in the church, or different, in a civil government you would call them ministries, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Finance, etc., etc. Cardinal heads, different cardinal heads each different dicastery, and which is all part of, for example, even the finances, all the donations, all the through Propaganda Fide, Mission Sunday collections, etc. There's a lot of finances involved for maintenance of structures, etc. Then there's so much. Remember, if you just take out the religious element, what we are dealing with is really a very vast government, and in that sense, we have the oldest continuous government in the world. The Catholic Church, going back 2,000 years, the oldest continuous government. So there's a lot of administration to be done, and the Vatican being a state, and the Pope being the head of state also. You know, there's a Secretariat of State. We've got to deal with other governments as well. It has a diplomatic corps. So it's quite a complicated administrative structure, and it's a marvelous thing when you look at it that way. There's such a small state having diplomatic relations with, I don't know myself, I think it's over 100 countries. So the Pope then can choose his closest advisors to appoint them as the heads of the various responsibilities that the Church has as a universal governing body.
Your Excellency, I've read that one of the tasks of the cardinals is to advise from time to time the Holy Father on certain issues. As a cardinal, what do you think you have the substance to offer to the Holy Father?
I wonder whether I do have anything to offer the Holy Father, given that he has such a choice of cardinals to choose from, men with great experience and of great learning, of which I am not. Experience, yes, but am I particularly qualified in any one field? I don't think so.
But you have vast experience in Pakistan, a very particular country with lots of good things in it and also difficult moments. So I think your efforts to bring interfaith harmony, your dialogue with the other people, your concern for the poor and the oppressed, your efforts for peace and dialogue in general, if I am correct, I think this may be one field in which you could play your part. Am I right?
Well, yes, I have been playing a very active role in the field of human rights too. In fact, before walking into this interview, I had a large group of people, particularly those from the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan who know me because I worked with them before. Also a couple of labor leaders and a few other people from civil society who also have great expectations now. And I said, look, take it easy. I can't promise anything. And they would like to see more involvement of the church. They were all non-Christians. But they were talking on the level of humanity, of being human beings in society, living together and creating a better society. And these are wonderful people who have that kind of broad vision, not being held back by a narrow interpretation of religion, any religion. So these are very good people to be working with, and I would like to work with them more. But whether I have anything to offer on the international or universal level, I don't know. I'm not so sure about that. It is for you to judge. It's for others to judge. I'm not sure what I have. There are others who say I have contributed a lot, and that's why I had the human rights people here greeting me, because they know me. I worked with them as well as in the field of interfaith dialogue. In fact, it may be interesting that when I was made bishop, for my motto, I did not choose any particular word or verse from the Bible.
Yes.
But I chose one word, harmony. Because I think for me that's a very meaningful word. Now Karachi, we are in Karachi.
Sure.
It's a huge city. We don't even know whether it's 19 or 20 million people. And it has such a mix, people of different races from all over the subcontinent, different ethnic groups, different language groups, different religious groups. Yesterday I had a group of representing 5 religious groups who just came to greet me. There were Muslims, of course, there were Hindus, there were Baha'is, there was a Sikh, and there was one more, I forget now, right now. So they all can be found in Karachi. So we are living together, but we cannot live separately. We've got to learn to relate with each other on the basis of being common citizens of Pakistan. And that's why I say the word harmony. It's not a question of just unity. I think the best example is this bouquet of flowers. You call it a bouquet only when you mix different flowers together.
Right.
But when you talk about harmony, each element, each flower does not lose its originality, its identity. And yet it has created a new reality called a bouquet. Leaves also get beauty by being put together with the flowers, and yet the leaves are leaves, and if you look at them separately, they don't have so much value. So it's really creating a new reality when we begin to relate, respect each other, keeping our own identity, and yet living together. I think we've got to learn that, and unfortunately I see a lot of, or already I saw it coming that time when I became bishop. There's this sort of a growth of extremism in religion. And also the way Pakistan is, we have so many different ethnic groups, linguistic groups. There are also tendencies, especially in Karachi, of one linguistic group feeling they're being dominated, and there have been a lot of tensions in society. And yet I've met so many people who feel that it should not be so. And what really needs to be done is just to bring them together and coordinate that and create something new in society, if it can be done.
Excellent, excellent. Your Excellency, for our viewers, we like to go back in history. Kindly tell us about your early life and your education.
My early life was spent in Lahore. I studied in St. Anthony's High School, right from kindergarten to finishing high school, class 10. It was in the same school throughout, and I did not live far. In fact, I lived almost in the shadow of the Lahore Cathedral, in the same area. So I was very fortunate. The school was nearby, church was nearby, marketing was nearby, and it is right in the heart of Lahore city, which then was it is still, but it was a different atmosphere 70 years ago.
Yes, true.
When Pakistan was created. There were not the kind of tensions we see nowadays in society. It was a very happy childhood. And in the neighborhood where I lived, Muslims, Christians, we all lived together, we shared our feasts. In fact, when I was ordained bishop in 88, in the cathedral, in the Lahore Cathedral, standing beside my brother and sister was Mr. Muhammad Sadiq, our neighbor. And when we were small, we called him uncle, and his children called my parents auntie and uncle. And to see a good Muslim neighbor standing there and lifting his hands in prayer, and especially when I knelt down and the Holy Bible was kept in my head at the time of consecration. My brother told me, he said he almost had tears in his eyes. He raised his hands in prayer. So, but things have changed a lot, but still there are a lot of good people around. So that my early childhood was a very happy childhood in school, and then I joined the minor seminary. I was about 16 years old, and then after completing the seminary in Lahore, I came to Karachi before our national seminary. 6 years there for philosophy and theology. Then I went back to Lahore, was ordained in 71. And I was posted in a very old parish in Lahore called Anarkali.
I see.
Then the bishop sent me to a place called Pasrur, close to Sialkot. And from there I was sent to a Catholic village called Mariabad, where the church also has a lot of farmland, and suddenly I had to manage the agricultural farm, about which I knew nothing about agriculture.
I see.
So it was really all my life it's been a learning experience. Every situation I've been put in.
Nice.
And then I was suddenly sent to Rome, the Bishops' Conference, because we were trying to localize the staff. Earlier we had Dutch Franciscans who were entrusted with the seminary, and the time had come for us. So I was sent to Rome to study philosophy. So after completing my studies there 3 years, I came back as professor in the same seminary where I was teaching. In fact, I became the colleague of some of my former professors. It was a little awkward for me. But then, after 4 years as professor at the major seminary, my bishop called me back. He says, no, we need priests now in the diocese, and he wanted me to be rector of the minor seminary, because one of the senior missionaries, foreigners, had to go back, and they were desperate. So I was made rector of the minor seminary, where I had started the journey to the priestly life. And 8 years there, in 88 again, I was suddenly appointed bishop right down south in Hyderabad, about which I knew at Hyderabad and Quetta. At that time, Hyderabad was a huge diocese, about 250,000 square kilometers. So I had to travel about 700 or 800 kilometers within the diocese.
I see.
And usually by train or bus. There was no air service between these cities, Hyderabad and Quetta. So, and then again another, it was like, I think Pope Francis used the word, the God of surprises. When I look back, I planned nothing. I planned nothing. It was just things happening to me. And now, with the little bit of wisdom of age, I can see that it was God working in some way.
Right. Yes.
And then when Bishop John died in Faisalabad, then suddenly I was told, okay, Bishop Joe, take charge of that diocese. So there was again another totally different experience. And after nearly 13 years struggling to rehabilitate that diocese because of various problems, financial, etc. And then again, another surprise, I was told to go to Karachi. And Karachi is again a different situation.
Sure.
It is basically an urban diocese. It's a whole of metropolitan Karachi. It's one of the mega cities of the world. And it's about 3,700 square kilometers, I think, the urban area of Karachi. And it's still growing. It's a fast growing city with a lot of demographic changes also of the population. So again, I have to learn so much here. And now, as a cardinal, I've got to learn about that too. So let's see what lies ahead. The God of surprises is springing his surprises. Yes.
Yeah, you have wonderfully given us the glimpses of your pastoral life and the service to the church and the people. Still, I wish to ask you, when and how did you hear the call to serve the Lord?
Yeah, I don't think it was the kind of call which certain biblical personalities experience, the Lord suddenly calling. Of course, when you're young, you have a lot of fantasies and you have a lot of dreams and this and that. And I think I gradually grew into it, and when I decided to go into it was, when we were in school, we would have an annual retreat. The school was run by the Patrician brothers. They were from Ireland, so it was a very Catholic school. And we would have an annual retreat, and there would be some very nice priests who would come and give us retreats. And as we reached up to the 9th, 10th class, we began to think a little more seriously about life. And the thing was, what are you going to do with your life, young men? And of course they would inject that aspect of vocation too. Maybe God is calling you for something. And then I think I was also inspired by that time there were hardly any local priests. I think 95% of the priests were Belgian Capuchins, really hard-working pastors out in the villages. And when we were altar boys, they used to come into the city to meet the bishop, and in those days every priest would say mass separately, and we had to go and serve all those masses. And I would see these big strong young men, and they were always very nice. Oh, hello my boy, how are you, and all. And I said, what are these guys doing? They'd come in on their motorbikes all the way from far away mission stations, and that also probably got me thinking, what am I going to do with my life? And I said, let me also try to be. They're doing something good. I had read the life of St. Francis. I had read the life of St. Ignatius of Loyola. We had the Jesuits there. And so there were various influences, I think, that really pushed me in this direction.
You said that Bishops' Conference sent you to Rome for studies. In which field did you do your studies, and how was life as a student in Rome? A priest, but also a student.
I was selected specifically to study philosophy in order to come back and teach philosophy at the seminary. As a side course in another university, I also did a course in community development and sociology. And then, life in Rome, I found everything so interesting, as I said. Everything was a learning experience. In our collegio, we were about 120 young priests. I don't know how many nationalities. Mostly those under propaganda fide, the whole of Africa and much of Asia. But we even had a few Australians with us. And then meeting, people or priests from all these different countries, the African countries. We had never had interaction with any Africans before. And here were people talking about Congo and the problems they were facing there as a church, and then Kenya, Uganda, West Africa, South Africa even. And then we had a few Arabs from Egypt, and we had from the Middle East. There was even one Palestinian. He was an Israeli national. He was a Palestinian. And listening to them and talking, it not only gave us the idea of universal church, but how all these local churches, the difficulties they are facing. And I made it a point when I had the chance to go to the then Yugoslavia, which was still under communist rule, and to see really how the church there was really suppressed. I stayed a whole week there, and all these things were really a new experience for me.
As you rightly said, that our God is God of surprises, and I see that the Lord has been leading you, guiding you, supporting you, but giving you difficult missions. And at this time, I particularly recall the self-sacrifice of Bishop John Joseph. You were made Bishop of Faisalabad Diocese in 1998. Indeed, a difficult time. But I will not like you to recall those difficult moments, but anything very significant which you cannot forget during that tenure of you as a bishop of the diocese. Kindly share with us.
Yeah, there certainly must be something. But now with the passage of time, I will have to really give a little thought to pick something. But overall, what really I found so positive, so nice, was the faith of the people always. The faith of the people. And in spite of, and those were the times, those last few years, 13 years that I was in Faisalabad, where we had a number of blasphemy cases. We had a few terrorist attacks here and there. We had the whole experience of Gojra. Shantinagar was a little before that. But then we had Gojra and we had a few other things there. And I remember when the first bad experience we had was after 9/11, 2001.
Right.
Where a couple of terrorists attacked a church in Bahawalpur, which was not in Faisalabad diocese.
Yes.
But that was in the month of October of 2001. It was the first time we had such an experience. And then we, that means the priests, and we were talking about this October, and then November, December is Christmas. And then of course the government said, okay, we'll give you police to protect the churches. And we were talking, should we have a midnight service? Because for the midnight service, people come from all over the place, even the nearby villages, you know, on all sorts of modes of transport. And we said midnight in the dark, what the police call a soft target. Hundreds of people assembled in one place. One suicide bomber could cause havoc. It would be a massacre. And we were just thinking, should we have a midnight service? We hadn't decided yes or no. But somehow the word got out that that the bishop is thinking of cancelling the midnight mass. So I got a delegation of people coming to me and said, Bishop, we heard you want to cancel the midnight mass. I said, no, we've not said that, but we have expressed concern about your safety. And then the one who was leading them said, Bishop, if the terrorists want to kill us, we'd rather die in the church than at home. We're coming for mass.
Wow.
And I said, wow, also. Yeah. I said, that's faith. It's the people telling me what to do. We had the midnight service, the government gave us a lot of protection, and now it has become a common practice, you know. But, you know, that even when times look very dark, there was always hope, you know, and the people were always very strong. Because in Faisalabad, so much of my time was spent in the streets protesting. There were many these blasphemy cases and things like that. Yeah. And the people always responded when we said we're going to have a protest at the press club at such a time. They were there. They were there. Oh no, that was always very encouraging, you know, to know that, to feel that. Yes.
I believe there will be a grand celebration and a ceremony in which you will be elevated to the rank of the cardinal. When are you leaving for Rome, and what will happen there?
Only I'm a little uneasy with the word elevated.
I see.
Oh. But I myself am not very knowledgeable about what exactly is going to happen. Of course, we do know, you know, the famous expression, to get the red hat from the Holy Father. That, of course, not only is the red hat, but even our socks have got to be red.
Yes.
Still there, these old traditions in the church,
right,
which all have meanings for the old. But I will go earlier, we'll have to go at least a week earlier,
okay,
to be outfitted in that whole regalia of a cardinal.
Okay.
You know, red,
right,
red buttons, etc.
Yes.
A different color, it's really scarlet, I think.
Okay.
A brighter red than this. So that will have to be all the things like the zucchetto and the biretta and the sash. You'll have to purchase there. And I myself then gradually first spend at least a day in recollection. Okay. It's been so hectic and I expect it to carry on like this. So at least a little time of recollection and prayer to prepare myself for this, and then to understand what is happening. 28th, if I understand well, will be the real day when we will be given. I think the Holy Father will give us a ring, which is a symbol again of being cardinal. And 29th would be the big celebration of the Eucharist, in which the public join. That's about all I know now. And of course, I think you're aware of this, that every cardinal has a parish church, which is his.
In Rome itself.
In Rome itself. Again, that has a history. It goes back to the early days. When the Pope chose as his advisors senior priests, wise priests, priests with experience, to be his advisors, and gave them the rank of cardinal. Remember, he's Bishop of Rome.
Yes.
So from within his diocese, he selected priests.
Okay.
But then as times gradually changed, as the church grew and spread to other continents, but then he began to be chosen from Italy. And then as travel also began, you see the tremendous changes that have taken place over the centuries. Now it's so easy to reach anywhere within a few hours. So it becomes easy also for the Pope to select cardinals from everywhere and really make the church universal. So, well, I'm also, that part is something very interesting and exciting. And I don't know much about it, but I'm sure it's again another new learning experience for me.
Your Excellency, what do you expect from your faithful now?
I expect that they don't expect too much from me. Because, the very word cardinal, or as you said, being elevated, elevated to the rank of cardinal, people think I've become somebody big. Big meaning somebody who has influence, who has power, who can do a lot of things. I can already see it when some journalists ask me, now that you have become cardinal, what is your vision? What do you want to do for Pakistan? I said, look, I've not become the Prime Minister of Pakistan. I remain the Archbishop of Karachi. And I already have a lot to do here, which I have not been able to do. I will have to continue doing that. Because as I've said earlier, Karachi being not only a very large city, it is a very dynamic city. It's still growing, and growing at a tremendous pace. There have been demographic changes in the last few years. The traditional parish boundaries are not as effective as they were 50 years ago. We have to reach out to the people who are now our own Catholics, who are settling on as the city expands. We've got to create new parishes. We've got to build. I've already succeeded in building one new parish house and defining a new parish, but we are lacking priests to really go and live there, and we've got to do much more. You see, to catechesis and other things, and schooling, education for the people who come from the villages from the north and other parts of Pakistan to the big city of Karachi to find jobs. They become more aware of the need of education, and they have a right to it, and we should be able to provide them with education too, the normal education beside faith formation. See, so there's a lot to do here, and even if I just do what I'm doing, I think that is enough. Without trying to do something sensational.
Okay. Thank you very much, Your Eminence. Thank you. Thank you. Viewers, we take now your leave. Laudator Jesus Christus in saecula saeculorum. Amen.